Hello, I'm David D. Cosmo. Welcome to ECTV Live. I'm joined by my co-host, Rusty Fender. Rusty?
Good to see you, David.
And I thank you for sitting in last week when I was out on assignment.
Oh, well, I think that folks may think that we were mad at each other for the past couple of months, alternating these shows, but there's no truth in that vicious rumor whatsoever. So we're back together again.
No, we had a little studio work that had to be done. Mark McGlory, our director, was able to finally get some of that finished.
He was great to work around the whole deal, too.
He was, yeah, and so we never missed a show.
That's right.
Of course, it looked just a little bit different. We have one of our most popular guests back with us today, Bernie McGruel, and Bernie is with the Lackawanna River Corridor Association. And Bernie, this is a subject that we like to promote every year.
How are you?
Because it's important.
It is.
And it's also kind of unique for those of us who remember the history of our rivers around here. Not only the Lackawanna, but the Susquehanna, which for so many years had a cloud hanging over them, had a very, very bad reputation. And thanks in part to Bernie's organization, that has changed here in Lackawanna County. And that change, in a sense, is highlighted by this event, which is called RiverFest, and it's scheduled for May the 12th. Bernie, let's back up. RiverFest, how was that created? Why was that created?
Yeah. Well, RiverFest actually goes back to 1973, and a group of folks that were involved with the JCs and an organization called LULAC, Luzerne-Lackawanna Environmental Council. And it was just after Earth Day in 1970. There was local organizations were created, and there was more interest in our local environment and in our river. By 1972, our municipalities had formed sanitary authorities, and the last sanitary plant up in Troop and Archibald came online. And the river no longer had raw sewage being dumped into it. So it was relatively safer for contact sport with paddling. So a group of folks organized the first, they called it a canoeathon.
Okay.
And it ran from Archibald down to South Scranton. And the first few years, it was quite an activity.
Did you say that was 1970?
1973.
Which was the year after the Agnes flood.
Yeah.
But more importantly, that was the turning point, as Bernie knows, 69, 70, 71, when they built the South Scranton sewage treatment plant. There was nothing before that when raw sewage flowed. So that was the turning point. Earth Day coincided with that. It set the stage for good things to come.
Sure. And by then, too, most of the anthracite coal mines had shut down. Basically, 1960, the mine shut down. So the waste from the coal breakers and the direct mine drainage started to tail off. We still have problems with mine drainage down in the lower watershed at Old Forge, as you know. But by then, the river was cleaning itself up. And folks said, "Hey, let's start to use the river." So that went on for a number of years through the 70s and into the 80s. And then with the development of the Steamtown National Historic Site, folks in Lackawanna County started paying more attention to tourism and the environment and cleaning up the environment. And relating it to our heritage of railroads, coal mining, ethnic migration into the region during the Industrial Revolution, trying to make sense of all that, tell that story, and use that as a way to attract tourism and for folks that are coming here on business to give them something else besides just business to attend to in Scranton.
You're going to have a good
learn about the importance of this region to our nation's history. So. A group of folks got together in the summer of 1987 to create what was then the Lackawanna River Corridor Association. But we just recently changed our name. We're going through a lot of changes now. And we're still LRCA, which we've been, but now we're the Lackawanna River Conservation Association. We want to let people know that we're about river and watershed conservation, and we work actually throughout the 350 square miles of the Lackawanna watershed in parts of 4 counties. The center part is in Lackawanna County, but our headwaters are up in upper Susquehanna and Wayne County, north of Uniondale and Forest City, and the Lackawanna flows into the Susquehanna down between Duryea and Pittston at Coxton Point.
Right.
So we involve folks from 4 counties. We have 51 municipalities, a dozen school districts, and 5 or 6 sanitary authorities.
And a good spring for the river. Not a lot of snow this year, but consistently near the end of the winter, 1 inch here, 2 inches here,
Well,
1
we're
inch.
going to have a fast. We're going to have a fast race this year.
A quick race.
The river's good. For anybody wondering, you can visit the LRCA website, lrca.org. Click on river conditions, and it'll take you to the USGS gauge station at Archbald. You can see what the river's doing as far as depth and flow, and it's been consistent around 2.8 to 3.2 feet, and that's perfect conditions for canoe and kayak race. So.
Sure. Now we should point out that if you're not into doing the racing, using the canoes, using the kayaks,
right.
It's a great spectator sport anyway. But beyond that, RiverFest has grown well beyond the race.
Yeah, all afternoon. We have festival grounds now that we've developed in the city of Scranton in the Pine Brook neighborhood, just off Poplar Street in Pine Brook. And if you can find Scranton Prep and Bernie Honda, that's the intersection of Wyoming Avenue and Poplar Street, turn west or downhill on Poplar Street towards the river. Right before you cross the river, there's a gravel roadway to your left. It drives about 800 feet into a piece of city-owned property called Sweeney's Beach. We've got a 25-year lease. We've made improvements. It was a knotweed jungle. It was a dumping ground. We cleaned up probably 20 dumpster loads of trash and debris.
And a railroad bridge removed, which made it even quicker
Yeah,
around
the
that
old
course.
Diamond Branch
That's
Bridge,
correct,
yeah.
Diamond Branch.
That crossed over there. But there's a big gravel bar on a bend in the river, and you're actually on the east side of the river from where the farmer's market is. So if you can find the farmer's
Right.
market, if you're up on the flood levee there, you're looking right across at Sweeney's Beach. So you get in off of Poplar Street, though. And we've got parking for a few hundred cars. We have a whole festival ground set up there. We're going to have craft vendors. We're going to have environmental vendors. We're going to have entertainers. We've got Young Burgo. We've got Dave Brown. We've got Friends of the Family. A whole bunch of young musicians will be playing rock and roll, blues, and a little bit of jazz. And we've got food. And we've got a beer, some beer and beverages with our friends LT Verastro, and we're going to have a great party all afternoon at Sweeney's Beach. So we've got a regatta and we got a duck race. Where can you go and catch a duck race? Well, we've got a duck race, and we don't drop thousands of little ducks in the river. We have specially trained, specially designed Lackawanna River racing ducks, and there's 10 of them. And if the right combination of ducks wins, you can win yourself $500. So it's a great day of fun for the whole family. And like you said, anywhere along the river you can watch as people are paddling down. We launch at 10 o'clock in the morning from 2 spots in the Up Valley, Blakely and Archbald. If you've got your own boat and you know the river, because it's a tough river, it's dangerous, this is an athletic event. In the morning for our canoe and kayak race, you need to know what you're doing, and because it's whitewater.
Okay.
It's not just a paddle on the lake.
This is rapids.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's rapids,
Okay.
and if you don't know what you're doing, we're going to be pulling you out, or one of the fire departments.
One of these
will. We
rivers
have-
that you can walk across sometimes and not
Yeah.
get your pant cuffs wet,
Yeah.
or it's 20 feet
Yeah.
deep around the sandbar.
Yeah.
And
But
fast.
If you
Really
know how to, if
fast.
you know how to kayak, it's a great or canoe. It's a great fun. Now in the afternoon, we also have for folks that would like to learn, or maybe they've gone boating on a lake but they've never done a river. We work with Art Coolbaugh and Susquehanna Canoe and Kayak, and Art brings the trailer and some kayaks down, and we have a short hour-long paddle. It's about a 3-mile trip from Parker Street in North Scranton down to Sweeney's Beach, and we have 2 of those excursions.
That's a little
And-
calmer section.
Yeah, it's a little calmer, but there's still some white water. But you're going along with trained instructors, so
Okay, all right.
they'll show you what to do. You'll learn how to read the river. You'll learn how to paddle a kayak on white water, and it's great fun. It's safe. And as you pick up your skill level there, next year you can think about, hey, I'm going to do the whole run. So.
Yeah.
We've got some tremendous opportunities with this river. We're looking at up at the headwaters eventually doing some runs up there in the
Stillwater-
Forest City area.
Stillwater Dam?
It drops pretty steeply.
it does.
There's some Class 3 and Class 4 whitewater up there, and down here we have Class 2 and Class 3.
So the higher the number, the more
dangerous
challenging.
it is. Yeah, the more
Okay.
challenging it is. Yeah.
Now, the launch is at 10 o'clock, and again, this is Sunday, May 12th.
Saturday.
Saturday,
Yep,
I'm sorry,
this
Saturday, May
coming
12th.
Saturday. Yep.
And the launch is at 10. So what time does everything, you're actually there, what, 9, 8 o'clock?
Yeah,
being
if
set up?
people if people could go to the LRCA.org website to register online, they can pay through PayPal. They can do all that ahead of time, but they need to bring a printout of their registration form with them, and come through, get registered. They have heat assignments because it is an athletic event. We do time people, so you can opt to race, and we're going to put you in the first couple heats. So we need to know if you want to race, and you need to register in advance for that. But you could do it either online or come to our office at 2043 North Main Avenue up in Providence and register in person. But it takes about an hour to get processed through registration and get your heat assignment, and then we call the heats one at a time. We launch in groups of 10 because the river's not big enough to launch
Not wide
100
enough,
canoes
yeah,
at
sure,
a time.
sure,
So
sure.
it's only about 75
You've
feet
come a long
wide.
way. Look at the list of sponsors, from 1 or 2 in the original late 70s, 80s to 2 inches of sponsors.
Yeah, we've
this
got-
became wildly popular, Bernie.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great local
Incredible.
business, all local businesses. LT Brasco, Pagnati, Lackawanna County through the arts program.
Big names.
Pennsylvania
American Water, of course, American Water.
PPNL, UGI, Lindy, Top Business Solutions, Quaker Made Cabinets, People's Security Bank, Labella Engineering, Waste Management, Lackawanna College, PNC. We've got Lackawanna Heritage Authority. We've got a lot of partners in the
Sure.
community, and it's all about partnership.
Now,
I know our
here-
good friend Scott Lindy behind this 100%
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, Scott's a former board
here's
member.
why,
Yeah.
here's why those sponsors are important. Because if you're not going to take a canoe in the river, you just want to come over, you watch some of them going in the canoes, you watch them going in the kayaks, you sit down and listen to music, the price tag is?
It's free.
See,
It's
this
free.
and this is how that happens, obviously.
Right.
So that if you want to come and enjoy it as a family event without necessarily getting into the race, that's a day-long event that's absolutely free and enjoyable for the family, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, young and old. Yeah.
Sure,
We've
sure.
got stuff for kids and for adults, and just a great day to relax and enjoy the river. Yeah.
And of course, this is a rain or shine event. I should.
It is, yeah. And the weather forecast for Saturday looks like it's going to be cloudy, temperature in the mid-60s, but we'll take that. We've had snow flurries, we've had sunshine and 75 degrees, but so we're right in the middle. But the river will be good this year for the kayak run because, as I said, it's been a wet spring. And it's running about 3 feet, so it's right where we want it. We won't need a release from the dam this year. It'll be running nice and swift, so it'll be a good run for everybody that's paddling.
So there, you're looking for something to do Saturday, May 12th. Basically starting at 10 in the morning, and then throughout the day you've got RiverFest right here in Scranton, and we'll get back to that to remind you about some of the particulars. But in the meantime, Bernie, there's another big event coming up next month, in June.
June 1st.
And that's a concert. Now tell us about that.
We are bringing in a national recording artist, singer-songwriter, Steve Forbert. Steve's from Meridian, Mississippi originally, but he plays nationwide, but a lot up and down the East Coast. He's got rhythm and blues, a little jazz, a little folk rock.
He was top 40 as well.
Top 40.
Right.
He had a couple of hits
he did.
in the 90s. He had a big hit with a song called Romeo's Tune.
That's correct, 1978.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Yeah, and so he's got a popular following. He's playing up in Ithaca, New York, the next day actually. So he's on the circuit, and he's going to be joined. He'll have an opening act, Jesse Bardwell from down in the Delaware Water Gap. Jesse's also a singer-songwriter, and he'll be doing some songs. And we've got. I'm going to hold up the poster if I could.
Well, let me put it right here in the center
Sure.
here.
Yeah.
And
We've got a
Mark can kinda
tickets
aim.
are $30. It's going to be Friday evening, June 1st, and it's going to be at Chaplin Hall in the Scranton Cultural Center. It'll be set up cabaret style, and as well as audience seating on the side. We've got tickets are $30. We're going to have a cocktail party both before and after the concert. The showtime is at 8:30, but the cocktail party starts at 7:30. So folks are welcome. Steve and Jesse will be chatting with folks and selling CDs both before and after the concert. So it's, again, part of our wrap-up of our 30th anniversary celebration that we kicked off last year.
He's a good singer-songwriter, Mark. Remember Romeo's tune, 1978, big top 10.
And this, Bernie, is a fundraiser for the organization?
It's a fundraiser for us, yeah. So tickets are $30, and they're available on our website at Steve Forbert Concert at LRCA on Eventbrite.com.
And how does the organization make use of funds that it raises from events like that?
Well, Dave, as you know, we're a not-for-profit organization. We're a 501c3. So our mission is to educate and involve our fellow citizens with projects that benefit and are beneficial to the Lackawanna River projects and activities. We want to have a community that's aware of their watershed responsibilities to their neighbors downstream and to themselves. And we're thinking about the future of our watershed. We're thinking about clean water and a clean habitat and a clean environment and a productive and life-sustaining future for our community. So after we endured the coal mining and the Industrial Revolution, we have a lot of restoration work to support. The Rails to Trails programs along the river to turn old railroads into hiking trails.
Great program,
So
that's right.
we work in collaboration with the Rail Trail Council, with Lackawanna Heritage Authority on those programs here, and we network with other similar groups throughout the eastern Pennsylvania region. We're also involved in land conservation through our affiliate, Lackawanna Valley Conservancy. We actually own about a dozen properties, both along the river and a couple spots in the watershed where we work to acquire and conserve properties. We can work with property owners to put protective conservation easements. They still own the property, but they've declared that they're never going to develop it and they're going to keep it in conservation, and then they can have certain tax advantages for that. So we can work through our conservancy in a number of ways to help conserve land and water resources in our watershed.
Being a nonprofit, does a national recording artist like Forward give you guys a break, a couple bucks off being nonprofit, or does he hold fast to his rate?
He's got a reasonable fee, and he knows he's playing for a conservation group.
Exactly,
and
that's what I mean. Yep.
He does have conservation
I
interests.
see, that's great.
Yeah, so we're looking to maintain relationships with folks like that for future events, and I hope we can. I'm hoping we can bring them back. We have a great number of local musicians and local artists who have supported and partnered with us over the years. At RiverFest, we have Rock the River concert in November that we sponsor. So the local musicians are tremendous support for us, and our painters and graphic artists as well. We've had artworks on the river for a number of years. We haven't done one in about every 4 or 5 years. We'll get a bunch of artists together and they'll go out and spend a day and create some art on the river.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and then we'll have an exhibit. So we try to involve every part of the community. We partner with the fishermen that are out there. Our local Lackawanna Valley chapter, Trout Unlimited, have been partners with us to help create the Sweeney's Beach project area. And the more people we can get involved as volunteers, the more eyes and ears there are on our river and on our watershed.
We had some folks in here on subjects related to the recent Earth Day activities. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of them saying that there's actually, the Lackawanna's become quite a good trout stream.
Sure, yeah. It's a Class A fishery. The Fish Commission has recognized that. It's very productive. There's and actually the mine water that flows into the river in the upper valley, actually it's not adding the kind of pollution that we get at the Old Forge mine discharge, but it's adding tremendous amounts of cold water. So it is a very productive fishery for the European brown trout that was introduced in North America about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And we've got trout in the river that are 4 or 5 pound trout that are 6, 7, 8, 10, 12-year-old fish. And so they're very popular with folks that do fly fishing, and we support the work of Trout Unlimited to promote catch and release fishing. So because the river isn't stocked, these are native habitat. This is native habitat.
And you know, it's not as acidic as a lot of folks think. I was with a chemical group working on the Old Forge borehole a couple of years ago. Normal pH is about 7.
Yeah.
It's like 5.5 at Old Forge.
Yeah.
So it looks terrible with all the orange ferrous oxide,
Right.
but it's not as acidic as you would think. I was surprised it was just 5.5, 5.5, and 7 is normal pH.
Yeah.
It's not as acidic as a lot of folks think.
There's more alkalinity, and if you
That's
look
correct.
at some of the historical data going back to the 1960s and 70s and some of the early Scarlift studies that DEP had done back then, it was much lower, and it's come up. The volume of alkaline material in the water is increased as well,
Exactly.
which means it's going to be easier to get
It's
that
good.
iron out.
Neutralize. Yep.
Yeah,
It
and
gets better and better.
yeah,
then.
Absolutely.
and we're working with a couple of private sector partners on that, and we hope to have some information to announce later in the year. We're working with Susquehanna Mining Solutions, and they've acquired some land down there. We're working on getting their site permitted for the development of a mine water treatment plant at Old Forge. So finally some progress is being made down there.
Finally.
So, and that's what the membership money, and that's what our fundraising supports, is all this
Sure.
work. It's 350 square miles. It's a big watershed. We have volunteers and a very small staff of 2 people.
You also indicated before we went on the air, as we were chatting, that there are some programs you're involved in sort of that go directly to the homeowner.
Yeah.
We're running a little short on time, so let's touch on those.
Yeah, we have an exciting new, actually 2 projects we're going to be doing in collaboration with the Pennsylvania American Water Company. We were selected as one of their environmental grant recipients this year, and what we're going to do is a rain garden contest. We'd like to challenge homeowners throughout the Lackawanna watershed to contact us. We'll be getting information out, but they could contact us through our website, www.lrca.org, and we're looking to ask people to design and make a commitment to build rain gardens on their property, and basically you divert your rain leader from just going into, get it out of the sewer pipes for one.
Funnel your downspouts.
And also get it off the street, put it into your backyard, channel it, maybe make a dry creek bed for your rain leader to run water through when it rains, and then create a low, if you have a low area in your backyard or your front yard, plant plants that like to get their feet wet. And they can be very colorful. You can also plant plants that attract pollinators, butterfly bushes, butterfly garden kind of plants, etc. And we're looking to have a bunch of criteria to make some awards. So we'll be able to compensate folks up to $500 per rain garden that is selected to reimburse them for their expenses.
Now, you've talked about that before, Rusty, in terms of normal street maintenance and what comes from the street.
Just going to say that we all agree. The biggest thing to help the river is clean up the dirt, the cinders, and the winter anti-skid in front of your house. It gets washed into the catch basins. There's no treatment. It flows untreated, gravity flow right to the river and adds to the level of the river, causes flooding. Oh, if you look at that over 100, 200 years, brings the river. It's the silt bars, the sandbars. Clean up the dirt and the anti-skid in front of your house.
In fact, Rusty, that's one of the criteria. So when folks apply for the reimbursement, and actually we're going to want to look at their designs ahead of time. But one of the criteria we're going to check off is, do they sweep the streets in front of their house if their municipality doesn't? No,
Good point,
not
Dave.
a lot of our municipalities run street
No,
sweepers,
they don't.
and the ones that
No, they
do,
don't.
they do not do all the neighborhoods. So it's really important, especially in April and May after the winter storms, to get all that road grit
Right.
and anti-skid off the street in front of your home. So that'll be one of the things. There'll be a couple of dozen criteria that people have to check
And
off.
it's interesting, I didn't know this until I started working for PennDOT a couple of years ago. PennDOT will sweep the streets if it's a state highway once a year. That's it, in the spring. They will remove everything. But they're not going to do the side streets, which aren't a state highway or a U.S. highway, of course. And they will also reimburse the local community if you do not, as Bernie says, if you do not have a street sweeper or a vacuum truck, they will reimburse an Avoca or a Duryea or an Old Fords that doesn't have this equipment. They will reimburse them for the sake of the cleaning at the beginning of spring.
So there is a way to get it
All you got to do
done.
is follow up, and you can get your streets done for nothing.
But
one more program you mentioned. We're just
well,
about
more
out
so,
of
yeah.
time.
We're also working with the water company just here in Scranton and Dunmore on the Scranton sewer system. We're going to be installing drain markers. There'll be little circular placards that will be attaching to the stormwater inlets along our curbs and
yeah,
streets.
sure.
And not every neighborhood, but we're going to try to align it with some of the new long-term control projects for the Scranton sewer system that have been installed over the last half a dozen years. And going forward, there's going to be much more capital investment in the Scranton and Dunmore sanitary sewer systems.
Well,
so
it's
we'll be working on that as well. And since across the region, stormwater is really critically important. All of our local municipalities really need to up the ante and pay more attention to their legal requirements. And the federal and state agencies are going to be pushing that. We'll be part of a workshop with DEP and Penvest actually next Monday up at the Lackawanna County Communication Center. So if there's any local council people, local elected or appointed officials, zoning or planning folks or borough officials, you want to get in touch with Paul Gorella at DEP and get up to the workshop that's going to be held next Monday.
Big things happening and all very environmentally sound, which is great. Remember, RiverFest this Saturday, starting at 10 o'clock in Scranton. You can go to Bernie's website. One more time, the website?
www.lrca.org.
Good luck, Bernie.
Get all the information.
Thanks,
Bernie,
Russ.
thank you so much for
Thanks,
joining
David.
us. Rusty,
Thank you,
thank
Bernie.
you.
Thank you, David.
Mark McGlory, thanks for
Thank
keeping
you,
us
Mark.
in focus as always. I'm David
Thanks, Mark.
DiCosmo for ECTV Live, and until we see you again next week, here's hoping all your news is good.